A story fans have been waiting to hear for years. For years, fans around the world have watched them carefully. Sometimes it was in the way they stood next to each other. Sometimes it was in the way they looked at each other when no one else seemed to notice. Sometimes it was just a tiny smile, a soft laugh, a shoulder bump, or an almost invisible moment in the middle of a chaotic stage performance. And yet, no matter how many clips, theories, interviews, or emotional fan edits flooded the internet over the years, one question always remained at the center of everything. When did it all begin? When did Jungkook first feel that Taehyung was no longer just another trainee, another member, another person sharing the same dream? When did Taehyung become someone different in Jungkook's heart? Someone special enough to be remembered, even years later? That question has lived quietly inside the BTS fandom for a very long time. And now, fans believe they may finally have an answer. In what quickly became one of the most talked about moments among fans, Jungkook reportedly opened up about the first time he truly felt close to Taehyung. And the emotional honesty of that memory has sent fans into an absolute spiral. Because this wasn't just about friendship. This wasn't just about training days. This wasn't just about old memories. To many fans, this felt like a missing chapter finally being revealed. A beginning, a moment, a memory that, once heard, suddenly made so many years of Taekook history feel even deeper. And what Jungkook shared was far more emotional, tender, and meaningful than anyone expected. Chapter 1. Before the world knew them, they were just two boys chasing a dream, before sold-out stadiums, before world tours, before luxury campaigns, fashion headlines, and global superstardom. There was just a small company, a cramped practice room, a handful of teenagers with impossible dreams, and among them were Jungkook and Kim Taehyung. Back then, neither of them could have imagined what they would become to the world, or perhaps what they would eventually become to each other. Jungkook arrived as the youngest. Quiet, shy, observant, and incredibly talented. He was still just a boy carrying the pressure of enormous expectations. People saw his potential immediately, but hidden behind that, talent was a teenager trying to survive an unfamiliar environment. Taehyung, on the other hand, was impossible not to notice. He had a strange, magnetic charm, even then playful, unpredictable, warm, and somehow deeply emotional underneath all his mischief. He was the kind of person who could make a room feel less heavy without even trying. At first glance, they were very different. Jungkook was often reserved. Taehyung was expressive. Jungkook watched. Taehyung moved first. Jungkook was careful. Taehyung followed instinct. And yet, perhaps that was exactly why something between them slowly began to form. Not immediately. Not loudly. Not in a way anyone could fully define at the time, but quietly. Consistently. Naturally. Like two people finding each other without even realizing it. Fans have often romanticized or dramatized their bond over the years, but what makes this recent recollection from Jungkook feel so powerful is that it returns everything back to the simplest truth. Before all the cameras, before the fan theories, before the millions of eyes watching them, they were just two young people learning how to trust, laugh, and lean on each other. And according to what Jungkook shared, that closeness didn't begin on a giant stage. It began in a moment so human, so small, and so emotionally real that fans everywhere are now saying the same thing. This changes everything. Jungkook's confession that made fans freeze. What shocked fans most wasn't just what Jungkook said. It was how he said it. There was no dramatic setup. No attempt to make it sound grand. No performance. Instead, what caught everyone off guard was the sincerity and the memory itself. Jungkook reportedly reflected on the early years and described a time when he didn't yet feel fully comfortable with everyone. He was still adjusting, still shy, still trying to understand where he belonged. That alone already struck a chord with fans. Because despite his confidence on stage now, many longtime fans know that trainee-era Jungkook was often introverted, especially emotionally. He admired the older members, but he was still young and at times likely overwhelmed. Then came the detail that made the internet collectively stop breathing. He shared that one of the earliest times he truly felt emotionally at ease was with Taehyung, not because of some huge dramatic event, not because Taehyung said the perfect words, not because they sat down and had a life-changing conversation, but because Taehyung, in the most Taehyung way possible, made Jungkook feel like he didn't have to be guarded. That's what hit fans hardest. Not the headline, not the Taekook label, not the shipping language, but that emotional core. Taehyung made Jungkook feel safe enough to relax. And once fans heard that, years of little moments suddenly felt different. All the old clips of Taehyung teasing Jungkook, all the footage of Jungkook laughing harder around Taehyung, all the behind-the-scenes moments where Jungkook's quietness seemed to soften when Taehyung was nearby. Suddenly, those moments didn't just look cute. They looked like evidence of a bond that started very early and very deeply. And that's why fans are so emotional. Because if Jungkook's own memory points back to Taehyung as one of the first people who made him feel close, then maybe what fans were sensing all along wasn't imagined at all? Maybe the beginning was always there, softly, quietly, hidden in plain sight. According to fan interpretations of Jungkook's recollection, the memory that stands out most wasn't necessarily a polished special event. It was likely one of those ordinary Chinese day moments that, at the time, may not have seemed extraordinary at all. And maybe that's exactly why it matters so much. Because the moments that change us the most are often not the loudest ones. They are the ones that happen when we are tired, vulnerable, awkward, uncertain, and in need of comfort without knowing how to ask for it. Fans believe Jungkook was recalling one of those early times when he was still trying to fit into the group dynamic, still learning personalities, still figuring out who he could be around each person. And then there was Taehyung, the one who didn't seem to care about walls, the one who could walk into someone's silence and somehow make it lighter, the one who often expressed affection in a playful, unusual, almost childlike way. If Jungkook was feeling nervous, Taehyung likely didn't try to fix him. He probably just stayed near him, teased him, included him, made him laugh. And that, ironically, may have mattered more than anything else. Because for a shy person, closeness doesn't always begin with a deep conversation. Sometimes it begins with this simple emotional realization: I don't feel uncomfortable around you. That is often the first form of trust. And if that was what Jungkook felt around Taehyung, then fans are right to see this as something deeply meaningful. Not because it confirms fantasy, but because it confirms emotional reality. Their bond didn't suddenly appear years later under the spotlight. It was being built in the quiet. And now, hearing Jungkook revisit that early emotional shift has made fans revisit everything too. Chapter 4: Why this memory is hitting fans so hard. The reason this story is exploding emotionally across fan spaces is simple. Fans aren't reacting to gossip. They're reacting to emotional truth. Over the years, countless idols have spoken warmly about each other. That's normal. BTS members have always shared deep affection and brotherhood. But what makes this specific memory stand out is that it touches on something more intimate and psychologically revealing. The first person who made you feel less alone. That's not a random memory. That's the kind of memory that stays with you, because it happened when you needed it most. Fans know that Jungkook entered the company at a very young age. He left home early. He trained under pressure. He was surrounded by older trainees and expectations that most teenagers would struggle to carry. So when he remembers Taehyung as someone connected to his first feeling of real closeness, fans aren't just hearing they were close. They're hearing something much deeper. Taehyung may have been part of Jungkook's emotional comfort during one of the most fragile periods of his life. And that is huge. That is why people are crying over clips. That is why old videos are resurfacing. That is why fans keep saying this makes so much sense now.